someone ran into you today and they asked you what are your roots, how would you answer?
I would say I'm Cuban. Things that, like, everything from my style, my stuff that I love, the way I see the world, who I am, like, as a person, my work ethic, everything. The more and more I read about my Cuban culture, the more that's who I am. Well, where I grew up, I don't feel like I belonged there. It's weird to even say that I don't even really consider it like home, because I never found my place. Like, I had friends, definitely it wasn't like a lonely or anything. I had lots of friends, but I just never felt like I really belonged. But living here now, moving to Oregon and moving to Eugene specifically, I've actually kind of in the last probably 6 months to a year, kind of found my community and kind of found the people that I belong around, and it feels more like home. Like, this feels more like home to me than anywhere I ever grew up. I was raised by my mom, and she's not Cuban, and so I was never really around it. When I was really little, I was, till I was about 2, and my mom's told me stories about how, like, I used to call milk leche. I never called it milk until, I was older. Or, water was always agua. That's how and my favorite snack was plantains. So I was surrounded by it when I was a baby. But then from like 2 until the last probably 3 or 4 years, I wasn't really like around it. So I didn't know a lot about it. Not ever really knowing who my dad was or anything at all. I remember more about my abuela and abuelo than I do my dad. I only remember one time in my life spending any time with him. But realizing in just that 1-2 day trip, how much I actually am like my dad, which I always thought was weird because I never knew him. So it's kind of cool to find out that so many of my traits are genetic, because I don't know anything about my dad, yet it seems like I'm a lot like my dad. Like, my dad doesn't even know that he has 4 incredible grandkids. I think it's pretty amazing to know that my dad came to this country when he was like 12, became a citizen, worked to become a pilot, supported his parents who came out before him. The story of how my abuela and abuelo got here is an incredible story, and I'm really proud of that. Like, it goes in line with, like I said, how I am such a fighter and I don't give up on anything. If I want it, I'm gonna get it. That goes in line with my Cuban roots. That's what my abuela and abuelo wanted when they came here. That's what they wanted for my dad when he came here. So even though I don't have that connection with my father, just because I don't know him, I really feel connected to that story and the whole goal of why my family came to this country. I still feel like I'm kind of fighting that right now, even in my own story, my own life. Plus, I know there's a whole side of who I am and whom my kids and you guys are that we know nothing about, that it would be really cool to figure out, that side of me.
After spending the past few weeks diligently piecing together our family tree, we've learned that our lineage traces back to Spain, where our relatives resided in the 17th and 18th centuries before one of them ventured into Pinar del Rio, Cuba, prior to 1902. My abuelo's dad, Manuel Montes, was born in February 1919 in Oviedo, Spain, and his mom, Maria Luisa, was born in Pinar del Rio, Cuba in 1924. Despite these discoveries, the full narrative remains elusive. We are still piecing together the exact story, but we are missing one of the biggest sources.
Hello.
Hi, it's Nina. How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm doing good. So when did you get to the U.S.?
We left Cuba in October of 1961. It was actually October 13th, 1961. And I was 8 years old, and Fidel took over in 59. And we thought it was going to be wonderful because he's promising a democracy and, basically turn Cuba more or less into the U.S., which Cuba was in pretty good shape anyway, except for the political system. There was a lot of corruption too, but there was food, jobs, plenty. It was a very, very, very nice place. And then about a year and a half into the program, he announced himself to be a communist. And then that's when my dad said, we're out of here. We went right to Miami and spent 9 months in Miami. And my dad couldn't find decent work. So one of my mom's brothers, one of my uncles, he had left Cuba before us. He wound up in Los Angeles and said, "You've got to come to LA because this is jobs everywhere." So after 7 months in Miami, my parents and I moved to Los Angeles.
Do you remember anything about Cuba, or were you too young?
I remember bits and pieces. I remember some things about the situation with the government. I didn't know what was going on, being only 8 years old and not really paying a whole lot of attention other than playing with my toys and friends. But I knew there was something wrong because there would be gunfights literally in the streets. And my parents always talking about leaving, and I knew there was something wrong. So I remember that.
Have you been back since?
No, my mom was back in the 70s, and she said she'd never go back again because things were so bad back there. She came back pretty depressed.
Are you hopeful?
Well, we've been, my parents and I, and every Cuban that I know, we were hoping for the last 65 years.
It makes me really proud to be Cuban and to say, yeah, I'm Cuban. Like if somebody were to ask me now, that's 100% my answer is I am Cuban. To know like what my family did to get here, it's pretty awesome. I've never been there, but it looks like such a beautiful place with, such a sad history. And I'm hopeful that one day it gets fixed or they figure it out so that people can visit there or can return to Cuba who left. And I'd like to go there someday.
How has this project helped you figure out who you are?
I think what really, really hit it home for me was when I saw that picture of my abuela, when she looks like she's probably in her mid 30s, and I look just like her. That kind of just really hit it home for me. And then also a sense of like, this is me. This is who I am.